Hallo miteinander, I'm Geshady6, and this is Touhou Koukishin. Last time, we snuck ourselves into the Kappa factory, this technological fortress at the Misty Lake. We have already started taking it and its inhabitants apart. Sakuya is truly a one-made army now. Still, we have yet to see any signs of the masterminds behind this conspiracy against us. Now, I want to give a few more details on said inhabitants. You might have noticed that not all the Kappa look the same. Like this one right here is wearing a grey military camo. Not only that, but she's also traded in the childish water gun of the Nitori lookalikes for this realistically seeming assault rifle. I think you can deduce which one of the two Kappa types is the more dangerous. Yeah, do be careful of the ones in grey. The soldiers generally feel more agile in comparison. That is the most noticeable difference between the two types. Their shots also travel faster, and they don't hesitate as much in between their attacks. Oh, and something else to complete the more serious image of the Grey Kappa Commandos. They have ditched the goofy cartoon mallet for an actual sword. Pretty edgy. We should witness its use again soon enough. This very room may be the most likely in the whole stage to give you an item of very high quality. Some of those vases may have those inside of them, but as usual, there is no guarantee. For us, it did not work out so well. Nothing we can do. I can't really explain this time why we found another garbage throwing knife. First time I got that in there. Here is a very bad use of cleaning made. Trying to flee with it from your enemies does not work. It only pulled those Lancer dolls back to us again. Yeah, that was definitely one of the sillier maneuvers from me in recent times. However, if it stays the biggest misstep of this whole video, we have very little to worry about. Not saying it does though, we will see. And right there, that Kappa Commando used a sword attack again. It's not easy to tell, but I do get the impression that it's a Japanese style sword. Wielding that and an assault rifle in combination makes it pretty badass, wouldn't you say? To me, it's actually such a by-the-textbook combination of badass weaponry that in itself, it's become a cliché again. It is by all means effective, of course. I am not sure if the sword is as damaging to you as the mallet is. I think they're about equal in the pain that they cause you. The sword strike, I believe, is a little faster, or at least less obvious in its wind-up. A little more unexpected, you could say. The next room will not only be swarming with enemies, it'll also have a completely new danger in store for us. Saw blades traveling on rails. Unfortunately, we are no chubby plumber who can just spin jump on these without harming himself. No. We have to stay wide clear of them. And that's really the best thing to do here. Rather than just watching out for the saw blades, I try to not even step on the rails to begin with. Of course, they can never get you then. What I also like to do during this part is whenever I need to fill up my spell card energy, I retreat to one of the side chambers and get some from there. The enemies in those are much easier to fight than the ones in the main chamber. They're a pretty strong bunch and they have the help of the saw blades. It's strategy. Even in such small things, it pays off to be crafty. We did not have our spell ready for the red flower fairy, but using it on the two normal flower fairies is also not too shabby. Oh, the fairies. They just never seem to run out for us. No matter where we go, they just keep cropping up. That brings me to something else I wanted to talk about. I once mentioned that Touhou Koukishin's biggest weakness was the absence of a natural difficulty selection. We already know that has been remedied, it does not affect us anymore. If you ask me now what the new king of things that aren't so great in this game is, I guess there isn't as much enemy variety as would be ideal. There are a good few enemy types, don't get me wrong, it could be worse. And on the bright side, we haven't even seen all the ones that are in the game yet. But still, this is not a department where I can give Touhou Koukishin a whole lot of praise. Kengeki Muso had even fewer normal enemy types, so they certainly try to improve on that. A variable knife. That is a pretty common weapon of the post-game, I believe. That we find one here already is a little peculiar. So, as I was saying, Touhou Koukishin introduces a lot more enemies. The problem is, it's about 3 times as long as Kengeki Muso is. That is my rough estimate. You see, enemy variety is always a relative quality. A longer game needs much more of it than a shorter one. That makes this small weakness of Touhou Koukishin a little bit more noticeable. Despite that, I find that it has a healthy length. Not too short and not too long either. The view from up here sure is impressive. We can still see the lake surface far below. We are also exactly 1 story above the very spot we have started the video on now. That is kind of cool. I really like this sense of climbing, when you can still survey the road you have traveled on. It's just all around neat. So back to what I was explaining before. Healthy length. Koukishin has it. Doujin games on average tend to be a little bit shorter, often due to their humble production values. Now, I'm probably not the first person you've ever heard who is going to tackle this subject, but I think it's such a good one. You often hear people say a game must be this and that long to be worth your time and whatnot. I am one of the ones who believes that net length of playtime is an overrated factor. Always quality over quantity. You have to keep in mind, any length a game has to justify itself. It has to do something interesting with the time that it takes. The ideal length also greatly depends on the genre it's of. For some, crossing a long distance doesn't even make sense. Like shoot-em-ups, for example, you really don't want those to just keep going. I've talked about that in detail in a completely unrelated Perfect Cherry Blossom video. But now, we should concentrate on the Kappa Factory again. By default, I really like the setting of a high technology stage, not just in itself, but especially when it comes to Touhou. Gensokyo is a world of tradition, with very little access to science. No one even wants innovation there, except for a bunch of obsessed weirdos. Hence why the space exists. It's just a cool clash of cultures. Although they did have a space-traveling endeavor once, the Scarlet Devil Mansion crew can be placed into the 19th century. And right now we have ye old French-made Sakuya simply ripping this place to shreds. It's just funny somehow. Technological levels in video games are no rarity. In the case of the Kappa Factory, it strongly reminds me of a submarine laboratory from one of the games of my teenage years, Phantasy Star Online Episode 2. Nowadays, I would much rather play the Kappa Factory because that laboratory was the worst, absolutely dreadful. It had these super cheap ice robots that I despised and feared. I have lost track of the many times they've killed me. Right here, we've got something ominous. A large gate saying, "Caution." As so often, when a video game warns you of a place, you want to completely disregard that and go see it. We are led to the next section, and boy is it foreboding. There is no music, only the sound of occasional thunder. And with that, we know something of great significance is heading our way. Whatever it may be, we'll encounter it once we climb the silo towering in the distance. The way to get there is a very short one, but to make up for that, it's also especially well guarded. It's to be expected that the security gets tighter so close to our goal. As excited as we may be, we do not want to miss going down the western and eastern pathways first. That'll give us another good chance at items of very high quality. Those items, they may not always be the ones you expect. For example, I would not have guessed we would get a Crystal Skull. That is a very situational accessory. It greatly increases your critical chance and power, but it also harshly cuts your total hit points. It's unlikely that we'll ever want to use it, but as long as we hold on to it, maybe no one will think of making a really terrible movie about it. Oh wait, they already have. Moving on ahead to what is coming up, the boss we are about to face is my favorite in the whole game. It has to be the favorite of practically everyone who has played. That is something I am certain of. A sneak peek of said boss did appear in one of the promotional videos for the game, and the Nico Nico Doga commenters were going pretty wild at that sight. It sounded like some of them may have soiled their garments. And I present to you the Soku Mark II. Mark I had been destroyed by Yomu in stage 4 of her Ankake Spa game. It was a surprisingly easy boss fight, but now this is the new and improved version. Its pilot is the Wind Priestess and human become god Sanae Kochiya. Another character, Nitori Kawashiro, has also appeared with a green holographic artwork. I believe this is meant to signify that she can only be heard through the factory's loudspeaker system. There have already been strong hints that Sanae has been the one plotting against us, but that she's become the ally of the Kappa and that she has a Jaeger at her disposal may be a bit more surprising. Although it doesn't have to be, if you're familiar with Ankake Spa's slightly mocking image of Sanae. To them, she is a mad, overzealous anime geek who firmly believes that Gensokyo's future can only be secured with an army of giant mechas. Poor girl, she does not have it easy in the fandom of Touhou. It's about to get dirty over here, but as intimidating as this metal colossus may seem, Sakuya shows a surprising amount of confidence. Keep this in mind, because our chief maid is no fool. This has a very good reason. And it has begun. On the fly, the fight with the Soku Mark II will remind you a lot of the one against the Mishagu-ji. Biggest of all differences, it is even more awesome. For those of you who aren't cinema enthusiasts, this battle is an obvious homage to the movie Pacific Rim. The traces of that are everywhere. First of all, we have a stormy night setting, a staple of the film. The neckpiece and head of Soku are also so alike Gypsy Dangers, which is the main character's mecha, that it's beyond coincidence. And finally, the music is the same kind of metal you would find on the Pacific Rim soundtrack. It is truly excellent. This is how you make a proper reference. But how is this fight when it comes to strategy? Well, the Soku has a lot of different attacks. Many of them are self-explanatory, but there are a few that are quite special. Like the next one coming up. Whenever it takes off and tries to ram into you, that'll do even more damage than Satori's Master Spark. However, using a skill that gives you a lot of invincibility frames will simply ignore it. Kind of underwhelming then, but you have to figure that out first. It is not something you would instinctively do. Apart from that, the move where Soku spins to create countless bullets can be a bit tricky as well. And it took me a while to understand that for avoiding the big drill, you have to move on the outer edge of the arena ring. Very important that. That drill, let's face it, probably wouldn't be able to pierce the heavens, but a tender and slender maid certainly won't stop it. You know, it's hard to believe that our puny knives would even be able to put a dent into this war machine, but here's our proof that the Hisoten Soku is just a big piece of junk. It has been completely vaporized. I don't know how Sanae did not get turned into dust by that explosion, but now she's certainly ripe to confess. Except that she swears that she did not bring down the mansion. She did in fact seem more confused than anything when we accused her of that. Who could have done it if not her? Huh, Suika has come around. Maybe she knows better what's going on. She's certainly acting all smart. Wait, what? But we had her already. And, Oni don't lie. Yeah, you still remember that, right? Do you? Well, whatever. We need a flashback here, and we need it now. Cue. By the way, it wasn't me. And there you have it. Sakuya did recognize the quality of Hisoten Soku as pretty crappy, and also explains now that its tracks wouldn't even have matched the monsters. But then how did Suika defy the rules of her own species? Yeah, what Sakuya's asking here. Wait for it. Come on, spit it out. Why, you little piece of shit. Yes, everyone, Suika totally truthfully answered the wrong question. By children's logic, that is not lying. Enough is enough. I don't know about you, but I don't care if she wields unfathomable powers. Suika has officially earned herself an ass-kicking. We are going to punish her for all the trouble she has caused us, and fight the final fight of the game with everything we've got. One very important tip up front, you do not get your health back after defeating Hisoten Soku, so before you do so, use up all the available healing vases if you need to. There won't be any in Suika's arena. Our opponent now is incomparable to what we know her as, so we don't want to use something like Cleaning Maid. Sorry, forgot to change that before. Suika still has most of her old attacks, many of them vastly improved, but she also has a few new tricks. A couple of them involve her size-changing powers. And of course, she has fierce spell cards. Here's the first one. Though the rocks fly impressively fast, this one is easy enough to understand and not too terrible. There is of course more where that came from. When Suika supersizes herself, it's not really a spell, but you might as well treat it like one. She is only vulnerable in her regular form. So whenever you see her transform, it's time to go defensive. And here's the bad one. This is another pulling spell card, so you need to forbid yourself from ever jumping during it. Got some more advice for it. Watch out mostly for the tiny Suika duplicates. The white bullets are negligible in their damage, so if you catch some of those, whatever. The small pieces of Suika though hurt much more. Almost everything in this fight hits hard, and that's really what it comes down to. I still don't find Final Suika especially hard strategically, but more than any other boss before her, she has numbers on her side. The margin for error is smaller than it ever has been, barring any Master Spark blunders maybe, so you always have to take Suika seriously. We took no chances and valued our finesse over any undisciplined berserking. So, victory is ours. Defeated. That is indeed what you are, Suika. Now get ready for Phase 3. There is no Phase 3. Our quest is over, and the last mysteries are about to be solved. Suika was the monster, but she is not all evil and terrible. She will shortly reveal her true motivations. People must be catching on to the fact by now that just about no Touhou game ever takes itself very seriously. In the end, heroes and villains will always be shaking hands, and those worrying incidents will be reduced to fun little diversions. A quick little reminder here. In episode 4, I clamored over the cancelled summer festival. Turns out that is now a major plot point. See, Oni just love to party. That there is no party because of some silly superstition is something Suika just can't have. So she made a false monster reality. Then staging her own defeat would of course resolve the whole situation. What is her obsession with Remilia? Pah, Sakuya is our star of the day. Okay, we are done here, and here is the ending we have earned. There is an alternative one, but that one involves the post-game. We needn't be concerned with it now. First thing I want to point out is a cute little cameo. She doesn't stand out very much as she is in her working clothes, but on the very right we have Mistia Lorelei. She's got it lucky, being possibly the only demon in the game who neither got beaten up nor their whole house destroyed. Our posse has arrived in the meantime. Mei Ling and Patchouli did support us well in our quest. Koakuma though? She's only now come out of hiding, proving that she has been around. And here she is celebrating joyfully, as if she contributed anything to our efforts. Not cool, girl. Nevertheless, Gensokyo is safe once again, and everybody's having a happy day. Well, except for Suika, who is having a mediocre day, I suppose. Like it's going to say in a bit, Suika could have still crushed us. But, like I said before, she had no reason to, and good luck ever getting the arrogant Oni to be serious. Now coming up, the conversation gets a little strange to me. At the end of stage 5, the library archives, Remilia unmistakably gave us all authority in the matter, didn't she? So why does it play out now like we disobeyed her orders from the start? Like, did we have to leave the monster for her? Oh well, seems like it's immediately forgotten though. Either I misunderstood something there, or maybe Ankakespa confused themselves with their own plot. Let's not critically overanalyze that. Even if they did, how many of us would write a better story? It is indeed their night, and for us, it is time to watch the credits. I think the credits are the best time to give you a concluding review. Let us start with the verdict straight away, because all the pros and cons I could think of have already been mentioned at some point during the Let's Play. Touhou Koukishin is a really good game. I enjoyed it very much, and I was motivated to play the heck out of it. No, not just the one level that was literally a heck. I think the strongest suits of the game are its atmosphere and the general mechanics, as in the controls are very tight and intuitive, and the fighting as a whole feels very satisfying. The boss battles were also very entertaining, and while we finished all of them relatively quickly, I think this brevity worked more in the favor of the game than against it. None of them seemed to drag on, instead all of them had a sense of urgency. Is there anything bad about the game? No, nothing purely bad, I would say. I've described the biggest weakness of Koukishin in this very episode. It does not have the best variety. It can feel a little hack and slashy at times, and while it does have its surprises, it never really reinvents itself. If you demand from your picks to shake you up with something special at every corner, you will enjoy Touhou Koukishin less than I did. That is safe to say. That a game succeeds at being strong in its core is a slightly more important factor for me. And to thank you for playing, I say thank you for making Ankakespa, thank you for translating Trip Flag and Friends, and of course, thank you for watching, dear viewer. That said, it is not actually over. I have mentioned the post-game several times already, and yes, we will be covering that. However, the post-game, it is a good post-game, don't worry, but it is also quite the tough challenge. It does not allow any goofing around anymore. So before we jump headfirst into that, I think I'll set a milestone here and get myself some healthy distance from the game first. A couple of video ideas have queued up in my head, only minor projects, no actual full LP will just steal Touhou Koukishin's place. And I want to mix my uploads up with those, before I bring this back in maybe 1, maybe 2 months. Then we'll tackle it with new esprit. I'm Gish86, this was Touhou Koukishin, and next time we'll see if this post-game makes us go postal. Bis bald!